Good morning, everybody. Welcome to class today. Let me turn that microphone down a little bit. That's just a little hot this morning. There we go. That should be a little bit better. Thank you for joining me, whether you are watching live or you're watching the recording. I appreciate you joining in and watching and, taking some time and taking a part in your education. That's always good. Speaking of good and feeling good, it feels good to kind of get back to this style again. We've missed a couple weeks of live streams now for one reason or another, one being midterm week, the other being technical issues, but I think we got them resolved, at least for today. I can't wait to get that new device in here to be able to zip around and do things way quicker. That'll be a whole lot of fun. But I'm just glad we were able to kind of work this old technology out, let it limp along for a couple more weeks, and still able to get a lot of good out of it and get this done. We are quickly kind of approaching the end of the semester, right? So this is one of those points where, I just want you all to be aware of kind of the timing of everything, right? We only have a few modules left. A couple weeks, spring break thrown in the middle of there. And we're done. We have another semester in the books. So just want to make sure you all go back and have a look back in the begin here module. And just get another look at that pacing guide just to make sure that we are all on the same page in terms of how we're going to finish this semester, so we can finish this semester strong. And we just want to keep that in mind right now. No worries, right? But today we're talking about targeting your audience, and we're talking specifically about how to get your information in front of the right people. And we're going to look at a very specific example today, but we can do similar things on basically all of our platforms. Right, but it should be pretty interesting to see kind of how we can work with this in terms of getting our message in front of as many people who are a part of our audience or could be a part of our audience as possible. So when we're talking about targeting our audience specifically, we need to start out by talking about, just what exactly is targeting, or what do we mean by the word targeting in this instance. And really, when we're discussing targeting on social media, we can kind of look at it from one of two perspectives, right? First being the content that you're creating on its own, right? And that's number two here, right? Your writing and graphics and all of these, all of the style of your content can be targeted toward audience appropriateness, right? What is this audience looking for in terms of content when they're going to YouTube, or they're watching things that are generally more conversational, more personality driven, where you're having an individual kind of speaking to camera, making an individual connection? Is it more of a tutorial type of thing that they're looking for, where they don't care who's doing it, they just want the information and to be able to kind of interact with that a little bit? What exactly your audience is looking for in terms of content, how we shoot video, how we write content, how we create graphics. All of these things kind of tie together for creating this content for audience appropriateness. Right, and we can kind of look at that from multiple different angles, and we'll talk about this more later on today. But the idea that if your audience is older and serious, and then you put out content that is light and joking and kind of making fun of some things that the audience might find very serious, you run the risk of being able to turn people off of your content. But the one that we're going to spend more time on today, we are going to talk about more of these in a little more detail, but the one that we're going to spend a little more time on today, because it's one that's it's something that you don't get to see a lot, is this idea of targeting content to demographics utilizing platform tools. And we're actually going to do an example of this in just a few minutes, where I'm going to do this for real, right? I've got a Facebook page that I manage, and I'm going to use some of these demographic targeting tools on Facebook to take a post that I recently created and target it toward a particular audience so that we can get this information in front of them. So when we're talking about targeting tools, basically every platform has them, right? They're slightly different in terms of how we can use targeting tools on our different platforms. But most of the time, what you're going to find in terms of targeting tools are going to be ads or paid posts. Because, this is a more specialized feature. We're trying to ensure that these specific things get in front of specific people. So there is going to be some sort of a cost associated to it. And that's what we're going to be looking at in a little bit when we're looking at Facebook. We're going to be looking at, some of these targeted, boosted posts so that we can take a post and put it in front of the right people and try to get more of the right audience to be able to see this ad, or this post rather, because it's not technically an ad, it's a boosted post. Right, so a lot of the features that we see on these different platforms are paid features, and typically what we can do is we can pay as much or as little as we'd like to kind of get this media in front of people. And the more targeted, the more nuanced our targeting is, the higher the cost is to get it in front of those people, because the logic there being, right, that the better I understand my audience, the more that I'm able to kind of narrow down on who my people are in terms of who this media needs to be in front of. Presumably the higher return on investment I would have. Goodness, let's turn this microphone down just a little bit more. Little hot. Haven't streamed in a couple weeks, so settings go crazy. So the majority of these tools are paid tools, right? They're going to be paid tools. There are some tools, however, that we can examine that we should be using that can allow us to target things to certain demographics and work in certain areas that are not paid. However, when we use these free tools, right, these are more kind of a shotgun approach, right? And those are going to be things like your tags, right? One of the things that we can do with YouTube videos is we can tag them. Right, so let's say I checked out some of my YouTube content here. This would be a good time to look at some stuff. We can just look at my YouTube studio here on the back end. And look at my content. So I have some videos here that I've created and put out. I also have all the live streams here on the other channel. This is the one where we're live right now. If I look at some of these videos here that I've put out and pre-recorded in the past, I can take and I can edit these videos and I can examine different things about them. And so basically everything on this video details page is going to be one thing that I can use to kind of help target my YouTube videos. Right? Because essentially what we're talking about in this regard, when we're talking about the free ways that we can target, are essentially going to be keyword based, right? We're going to be targeting keywords based on what we think our users' interests are or what we think our users are looking for, right? So what we would want to do here is we'd want to put these keywords in the title. We'd want to put these keywords in the description. And another thing that we definitely want to do is we would want to put these things in tags. We'd want to add tags here. And for my class YouTube page, right, for the YouTube page that I use for my class, I deliberately don't do any of these things, right? Because on this YouTube page, I kind of intend it to be for my classes. I don't want to get a bunch of extra attention on it. Although, just based on titles of some of the videos, I get a lot of attention on those. So on purpose, I don't have a lot of this filled out. But for your channels where you're trying to get people to watch your content, you're going to want to go back and make sure you have a lot of this filled out, right? And you're going to want to go back and put tags and do all this other stuff. And that's going to help you kind of figure out what exactly, or it's going to help you target your video to your audience. And there are actually websites that can help us generate tags for our YouTube videos, which is pretty useful. Right, we can use a tool like this here, keywordtool.io/YouTube, and we can find keywords that can help us create tags. And so based on the video content, we can add some other tags. This video here in particular that we're dealing with is sort of it's a job search video. So I've titled it something kind of clever here based on the content of the video. It's about approaching new opportunities. So what I might want to do in a tag generator like this is to kind of use some keywords that are around that, not necessarily the title, but kind of the things that are adjacent. Right, so I might type job search here. And we'll search. And we get some strategies here. Job search strategies, job search tips. These are things that have trending values here. We can see different... we can see search volume for that. We can see it's trending. It's gone down and trending just a little bit, right? Cost per click in terms of return on investment and how much competition is out there with those keywords in it. And so, they want you to pay to get all of this data for everything. But we can use some of this information here to help us build out some tags, right? And we can also use these keywords to help fill out our description. And this can help, get this in front of more people who are looking for this sort of thing. So what I might want to do is go down to my tags and add things like job search, motivation, opportunity, strategy, let's see here. What else does it give us? Advice, that'd be a good word. We can add words like advice. Right, we can just fill out a bunch of these tags. These tags don't show on your YouTube page. There are like browser extensions and other websites where it'll gather the tags for you, but it does put this information into the SEO data for this video so that people that are looking for these things can find this video more easily. We can look for some other items here. Jobs, help, hacks. A lot of people are looking for hacks, so we can type in help, hacks. And we can just take these keywords and try to help get this video in front of the right person, which is pretty good here. So other things that we could do with this, right? Again, write a description. What is this video about? We can just write a brief description. And this is about, kind of taking your experience and transferring it and being open to new experience and a new career, right? So we can say something like, right? So, we just get some keywords in here, right? And we're just writing sentences, but we're also getting keywords in here, right? Opportunity, career, skills, experience. When people are coming and looking for this, these are words that they're looking for. Based on the fact that they're in the description here, people are going to want to, this video is going to start popping up in people's feeds as they're looking for this stuff or as they're watching other stuff that would be related to this. Some other stuff that we might want to do is select a language, which is going to be English, right? So that's a video language and a description language. The type of video here matters a lot, right? They have these predetermined categories, and these predetermined categories are part of the algorithm that shows, kind of who this video should be put in front of. And a little hack is to kind of put it in the wrong category, kind of put it in an adjacent category that still makes sense, but it's like not correct, right? Like I might want to put this video in, like the proper category for this video would probably be education, but we're not getting as many educational videos watched. But how-to is basically another form of education, right? And how-to videos are really getting watched. So I might want to switch this to the how-to category. To try to get this in front of more people. And then the keywords and the description and the title is going to help target it. And, like one of the things that you'll see a lot, right, is personalities and influencers and people who are actually people that are being searched for on YouTube. They'll put their names in the title of their videos, right? Even if it has nothing to do with their video at all, right? They'll just kind of tack it on to the end. And that way it helps kind of boost them in the search rankings for people that are searching for that individual. Because when you're higher profile, other people make videos about you too. And the people that are making videos about you, it's more likely that they'll have your name in the title than you'll have your own name in the title of one of your videos, right? So to combat this idea, a lot of personalities and have started putting their own names at the end of their video titles, so they can kind of outrank the videos that people are making about them, which is pretty interesting. So once we get all this information in here, we can save this, and it's going to update the changes. You might not notice right away any changes, but it will start kind of popping up more and more and more as people are searching for things, which is pretty cool. And if we look at my analytics, I should probably, we can maybe at the end of the semester, we can look at our analytics and see how just having those things in the video has changed how many people are experiencing the video, but between now and the end of the semester. Right? Because I've done something now that can put this in front of more people. And that is again a free way that we can start to target this media information to more users, right? And most social networks are going to allow us to apply some level of targeting or custom visibility to organic posts in that sort of way, right? And really kind of what we're talking about in regard to that kind of stuff is all organic build. Yeah, because it's just based on search engine optimization, including the right keywords and ensuring that what we're writing in our description and in our tags and in our titles all meets the requirements that our audience would be looking for, so that if they were to search for a video that they are interested in, it increases the likelihood of our videos and our posts or what have you popping up in front of them. Right, so it's kind of like it's like the idea of being present versus being seen. Right, like you go to a party, you can be present at a party, you can be there and just kind of be a wallflower and kind of be to the side, and that's kind of our videos without this targeting. Right, they're there, they're on the platform where our users are, but they're just kind of there. They're not being seen. And so when we start to be more outgoing, add more tags, add a fuller description with a bunch of related keywords to what we're talking about in it, we start to do this organic targeting. That's an equivalent to kind of going around the room and mingling, right? Kind of walking up to people and saying, "Hey, how are you?" It's this approach that we're going to try to make ourselves easier to be seen. But there are other tools, right? There are other tools that are the paid tools that we were talking about previously. And when we were talking about it in that sort of way, that's less organic and more manufactured, right? Because when we use, say, Facebook's Boost Post feature, we are using that feature specifically to increase the engagement. Facebook is the big example that we're going to look at next. So let's take some time and talk about Facebook, right? And the idea of Facebook, and one of the big things here, really like a lot of other social media platforms, Facebook is just a constant churn of content, right? It's ever changing. The content's ever changing. It's incredibly crowded, and space on the news feed has become incredibly valuable, right? And not just space, but, not just presence, but being seen has become incredibly valuable. And so with this ever-changing Facebook algorithm that decides what should be seen and what we're not going to worry about, making sure you're reaching your right audience, ensuring that healthy reach, that you're getting your posts and getting your content to your users is a constant battle, right? And so that's when we kind of get into the idea of Facebook targeting and just how granular Facebook targeting can get, right? Because Facebook knows a whole lot of information about you. It knows who you are, your age, right? It's got your birthday, your gender, your interests, right? Because you like things and you add pages that you want to follow, and it knows who your friends are. It knows where you went to school. It knows whether or not you have a significant other. It knows where you live. It knows what language you speak, right? Facebook has all sorts of information about you, and it should, because you're the product for Facebook, right? Because Facebook is not really a social media company. It's an advertising company, and this is how they make their money, right? But now we're kind of approaching this from the perspective of the advertiser, because we're a publisher trying to get content in front of people. So we have all of these different criteria that we can use to target posts to. And one of the ways that we do that on Facebook is via a boosted post, which is what we're going to look at next as our example, right? We've got this example here of a boosted post, and this is our audience. This is who should see our ads. We see here by default, we get this idea of a smart audience. And we'll talk about what this smart audience does in just a little bit. The smart audience is a little bit weird, right? Because this is actually a screenshot that you're seeing here, and we'll actually do this here in just a moment. This screenshot that you're seeing here is a screenshot from the post, the smart audience for the post that I'm going to actually post here in just a minute. And we see these interests that it's matching, right? And we see the location where people are living in and the age ranges and all this kind of stuff. And these interests are kind of interesting, because what I'm going to boost a post on is to encourage registration for summer and fall for the information technology department here at Cleveland Community College. Right, I've got a post that I've built out and put onto our information technology at Cleveland Community College page. That's what we're going to boost today. And this is the smart audience that Facebook decided, at least as of yesterday afternoon when I took this screenshot. This is the smart audience that Facebook decided would be relevant. And a lot of this is based on interests of the people who have already liked our page. Right, and I can tell where some of this is coming from, right? Because we have a more active Facebook page follower that used to work for Roush Racing. As a former student of ours, graduated from here, went to work in IT for Roush Racing and has gone on to other stuff since then. So when I see NASCAR and motor vehicle and LG electronics and things like that, makes a whole lot of sense when I look at it from that perspective. Right, but it is kind of interesting that this is, for the colleges, or for the information technology department here at the college, our Facebook page, this is what it kind of gives us as a smart audience. But we can customize that. And that's kind of what I want for us to see today, is this process. I would like to actually kind of go through this process, and I'm actually going to buy this boosted post today. So this should be a lot of fun. I've got our information technology page at Cleveland Community College here. And I've got my post here right at the top. I created this post yesterday. Just a nice big bright graphic, a little bit of information. We'll include a link in our boosted post as an ad to the Cleveland Community College website just to drive traffic back somewhere else. It's also going to give me a metric that I can measure, so I can see click-throughs and get all this information. Right? And so, your Facebook posts should have this boost post button in the lower right-hand corner here, and that's what I'm going to click. And as we can see, as we hover over it there, it says get more people to see and engage with your post. That's exactly what we want to do here. That's the point of targeting. And so that's what we're going to do. Right, so we can see here on the right-hand side what our boosted post or ad will look like. And we have a goal here at the top. And the goal is right now automatic, right? Facebook selects the most relevant goal based on my settings. Well, I might want to change that, and we can look here and see what we're dealing with. So I can get more visitors, I can get more messages, I can get more engagement, I can get more leads, which would be an interesting one for this, I think, to just kind of gather data from people that are interested and get their information and reach out to them and contact them in some other way. So that might be what I want to do here. I think I might want to get more leads for this and just use a form through Facebook to kind of gather people's information so we can contact them. So what do I want? I want a name and an email address. We'll give this a shorter title. To be the forum name. I do want to customize the forum text a little bit here, right? Maybe ready for a fast-paced career in information technology. Let us know. We can help. Fill out this form for more information. And so we'll take their name, we'll take their email. We could take their phone number. We can add another little question here if we want to. Right? And that's going to be a short answer question. Maybe we can say, like, are you interested in cyber security, network administration, or programming? That way we can know who here can contact this person for more information. And privacy policy. Don't have one, so we'll just skip that. So now we have a single question here, right? Because Facebook is going to gather the information for us. Gives us a little bit of contact information, gives us the Facebook privacy policy. We are all set. So we can save that. And close that. So we've got a contact form included in our ad now. We can change our button here, do whatever we want to do. So if this is an ad for a certain purpose, like politics or employment or all this kind of stuff, right, that we're just trying to get people to take classes here, it falls into a special ad category where you have to disclose more information. So you'd have to check this box here. And now we can get to our audience. And so what I want to do here is I want to do people I choose through targeting. I want to select that because the smart audience gives us a weird audience, right? It gives us people with interests of Credit Karma, budget, barbecue grill, LG Electronics, right? That's weird, right? Like, and that doesn't really match what we're looking for here. So I want to do people that I choose through targeting. And I can click this little pencil here to target it even further. I can target an age range, right? And so we're looking for new students primarily in this area. An age range is going to be kind of interesting, right? Because one of the things we kind of want to target two different groups here with this age range, and that is students and parents. So, we kind of think about, well, how old is your average parent of an 18-year-old? Or average parent of a high schooler. Let's drag this down to target it just a little bit more, and let's make it 18 to 45. We can go a little younger if we want to like 16 to 45. But if we do include minors in there, it does kind of limit us. So 18 to 45 it is. Now we want to get a location, and we kind of want to stick within our service area. So the entire United States, a little broad for you, right? Could be bigger, could be smaller. I want to check out Cleveland County, North Carolina. And so it's Cleveland County plus 25 miles. That works for me. And now we can do some more detailed targeting. And this is where we can get more demographics, interests, behaviors, right? There's a lot of stuff that we can look at here, right? We can look at what kind of relationship they're in, right? Because again, Facebook knows all this stuff, whether or not they're parents. So if we wanted to target something specifically at parents for, say, CCP programs or, whatever, we can do that. Life events. Lots of life events here we can look at. Even like friends of people who have certain things, right? So like if I wanted to say advertise a product, I can advertise to friends of people who have a birthday coming up and target them with my ad and so on and so forth, right? So that's pretty big. We can advertise based on income. I think I might want to do a little bit of this here. Let's shoot right here in the middle of the road. Education levels. Let's look at people who have an associate's degree. Let's look at people who are in college, who are in high school, who have some professional degrees, some college, some high school, unspecified. Right, get a bunch of stuff there. We can look at interests here, and we can zone in on some interests. Let's look at people who are interested in certain technologies, right? Network storage, software, desktop computers, right? Some of these are pretty narrow here, right? But we can look at consumer electronics as well. And then including things like some of these other interests, business interests, for example. What kind of things are you interested in business? Maybe online businesses, web design, web development, web hosting, social media marketing, social media, search engine optimization, right? We can look at some other stuff here. Management. Small business. Look at some entertainment options here, right? We can just kind of go through and try to find the people that we think would meet our demographics. And the more we do it, the more we kind of narrow down our audience, or work with different things here. Maybe we can look for family. Right, and just really get granular with this targeting. And we can get really granular with the targeting, right? Some of the targeting stuff is like kind of scary what it can target. And like if you actually got in here and looked at a lot of this, like you would definitely see that. Whether they've used certain Facebook things in the last few months, small business owners, technology early adopters. That might be a good one for us. And really just get that granular sort of targeting there. And we can include that, right? We have all sorts of targeting in there now. And so it gives us a potential audience size, and this potential audience size is the estimated audience size that meets all of these qualifications. So between 18 and 45 in Cleveland County that have all of these, or that are in these demos, is between 33 to 40,000 here. So I can save this audience, and now that's an audience that I can use. I can run this for 7 days. I can see the estimated amount of people that I can reach per day with my total budget here. I see that if I lower the amount of days I want it to run, then I can potentially reach more people because the amount of budget that I want to put on it is low, right? I'm even going to spend less than that. I'm going to spend $10 on it, and I'm going to run it for 4 days. I'm going to run it today through Saturday or Sunday, right? Just to see what we can get out of it. And so it says I should get, between 95 to 275 eyes on this a day. I can place it in Facebook, in Messenger, and in Instagram. And I'm ready to boost, right? Like I've got this boosted post here. I'm going to switch that back to learn more, I think. And we can, whenever we're ready, we can just click boost post now. And it'll submit my ad. And so what happens here is it goes into creation, it gets reviewed. Our goal is to get more leads. And so that's what we're wanting to do here, right? And that's pretty cool. We've put in an effort here to get this post. We've targeted this post to try to get it in front of the right audience. And so that's an example of how we can do this. So now we've seen two different examples of how we can target a post to an audience. One with Facebook using a paid method, and one with YouTube using a more organic method. So these are those methods. How else can we target? Right? You know, we can put promotional dollars like that behind Facebook posts and targeting audiences by user type and interests based on criteria. That's really effective, right? Like that basically guarantees that this post will get in front of the right people if I know my audience, right? Which we should by now. And so like this was a small ad spend, right? I put $10 on it to try to do this. But like if you try to do more, if you try to make this bigger, if you try to get in front of a larger audience to get a return on investment, you might have to spend more. And so there's still a possibility for subjectivity, right? Like you still might miss the mark on who you think your audience is, in which case if you get it wrong, you've just kind of wasted money, and then, you know, you can't just keep pumping money into it, right? We're not Fortune 500 companies that have, you know, huge social media advertising budgets to be able to target posts like that. So it's not sustainable. Right? And if you boost everything that way, like you just become known as the advertiser, which you don't want to overdo it as well, because that can kind of leave a bad taste in people's mouths. So outside of using these tools to get either direct paid engagement or try to start building growth through organic engagement like we were doing with our keywords and our tags on YouTube there, we can also just start adjusting our content creation style to meet our audience, right? Making sure our graphics, our videos, the tone that we use meets the audience that we're trying to reach. And one of the things that we talk about in the module is our writing style. And when we're talking about writing here, we're talking about it in relation to, say, a script for a video, a blog post, a Facebook post, whatever we're working with. And so we have 5 basic things that we can do to kind of help adapt our writing to our audience. And I'd just like to kind of go over them really quickly to just kind of wrap up today. And one is that we want to add information readers need to understand your document, right? And so this kind of gets us into some technical writing territory, right? We want to check to see if any key information is missing. Am I able to do everything you want me to do from what you've written? Do I have a complete set of instructions? Do I have a whole picture of what's going on here, so that, you know, if I want to move down that funnel, right, if I want to go from a more awareness level down to a loyalty level, like we've talked about previous, then you need to provide me with the avenue, the details for me to get there, right? So we want to check to see if all of our key information is there. If anything's missing, we want to make sure we're adding it, right? Any background information, any definitions of terms, any steps from a set of instructions that somebody would need to be able to complete a task. We need to make sure all of that is there. But on the flip side of that, right, like in terms of making sure everything that our user needs is there, we can also kind of start throwing out the stuff that our user doesn't need. Right? Time is at a premium. Attention is at a premium. And that's one of the things that's so critical about kind of the way we are approaching publication of content and dealing with content online, is this idea that attention is at a premium. people are on a website, within seconds they can be on a different website. So if I'm inundated with unnecessary information I don't want, it's going to confuse me, it's going to frustrate me, and I've got infinite other websites that I could be on in a matter of seconds. I have infinite other social media accounts, other YouTube videos, other Twitch channels, whatever you're doing, that I could be on in just a second. So if they get all this content that they don't want, that's not catered to them, or is not catered to the audience that you're working with, you're going to lose parts of that audience. Right? And a lot of that is based on expectations. Right? Like if I create a channel around a certain topic, and all of a sudden I start posting something else on that channel, my audience was built around that previous topic. Right? So when it comes to unnecessary information, anything that I do that kind of deviates from that becomes unnecessary information for that audience, and that's going to cause them to leave. Because, again, they're on the internet, they can get that information somewhere else in a matter of seconds. So if you're not trying to meet your audience's needs after setting expectations, then that's going to cause some issues. Final three things here is change the level of information that you currently have. Right? You might be approaching things from too high of a perspective, right? Like you might be approaching things from a very intellectual perspective when people want some more intro level stuff, some more basic stuff. Right? Or vice versa. You might be trying to do some really basic intro level stuff when people come to you for advanced level material and they want the advanced information. Right? So we want to make sure that what we are presenting to people is pitched properly for them. You know, and when we're saying pitched here, we're kind of talking about it like a choir, right? You know, you have your sopranos, your altos, your tenors, and your basses, and they all sing a different pitch to create a harmony. And so if you're a singer that is singing a certain part, it's because that part meets your voice, right? And so if you try to sing too high or too low in your voice, that's not going to work. Right? So if I give somebody something that is pitched too high, they can't sing it. If I present social media content that's pitched too high, that is too advanced for the users that are in the user group that are trying to consume it, they can't use it. It's not pertinent information to them because they're missing a bunch of other information that they need to get to that advanced level. If I pitch it too low, it's boring. Right? And again, they can get the information they need from anywhere else in seconds. Another thing that we want to do is we want to add examples. And, you know, this is talking about, you know, writing in particular, right? But when we're phrasing these things here, writing can be script writing for your videos. It can be writing blog posts, Facebook posts, tweets, whatever we're dealing with, right? So we could be adding examples to our blog posts, but we could also be adding examples to the script that we use to make our YouTube videos, right? Examples connect with people because they allow people to relate. Just like a few seconds ago, I used this example of a choir and related that to, you know, kind of bringing content to someone at an appropriate level. You know, even in non-instructional types of situations, you can use an analogy or some kind of example to relate to people. And you could just be like, oh yeah, you know, I was doing this and that reminded me of this time when I was younger where, you know, my parents took me to Carowinds and I did this thing. right? So you get that relational level, so you are exhibiting more personality and you're kind of creating more of a connection with your audience, which is always important when it comes to social media. Right? And I should kind of take a brief beat to say that, again, a lot of this, we talk about relating and we talk about providing examples, and again, it's always going to be in regard to comfortability in terms of what we do personally, right? Some people aren't too comfortable sharing a whole lot of personal stuff online. Can't blame you. I don't want to do that myself. Which is why I don't do a whole lot of social media outside of like managing other people's social medias. But it's going to be relevant to the content that you're trying to do as well, right? If you're a gamer, you could say like, oh yeah, I was playing this, and this new game that I'm playing now reminds me a lot of this game I used to play when I was younger. That's all you need, right? To be able to bring an example that people can relate to. Then we can change the level of our examples. Just like we can kind of change the level of our content, we can change the level of our examples. Again, if you're boiling things down to be too basic, experts are going to have a hard time understanding it. But highly technical examples, people who are just getting started, your non-specialists, are going to have a hard time following that. So we just want to kind of, again, we approach this situation as someone who at least thinks we know our audience and we know who we're working with. And if we are successful in having a good understanding of our audience, which is why we always try to start by going there, then this part becomes a whole lot easier, right? Because we kind of have this persona, this idea of who this person is, and we can even kind of personify them as an individual who we are talking to, if we wanted to kind of look at it from that perspective. If it helps you kind of make it more real, right? Like we can kind of take this persona that we develop based on our understanding of who our audience is and make them into this sort of straw person who is the audience who you're talking to directly. You have an understanding of their personality, you have an understanding of what they like and what they don't like, and so you know how to talk to them. And we can kind of take and personify our audience in that way and think about the adaptation of our writing toward that end. And so I do have a couple strategies here that I want to kind of leave us with. Because whether we are writing things, whether we're adapting our writing style, whether we are doing boosted posts, whether we're trying to do more organic style stuff, any of this, we can kind of use these strategies for that. And so we have a few scenarios where we can utilize an adapted writing style to help develop engagement. And one is when we're posting regional content. And so we kind of see how we can use our boosted posts, our direct targeting for that, right? Because like when I was doing that example, I could target it directly to Cleveland County. Or I could target directly to Shelby or Kings Mountain, or to even something smaller like Earl or Lattimore, right? Like we can get real granular in terms of who we show that to. But also when you're posting regional content, there's stuff to consider like, what's the dialect of that region? Right? Like we see it a lot around here, right? Like people will use y'all in the advertising. And variations on y'all because it's regional content, it's location specific. This is the vernacular of the area that we're in, right? So, y'all. I go to New York, I go to Los Angeles, I might not advertise with y'all. So kind of changing your vernacular and utilizing the idioms that are location specific as you're writing, that's going to help you target that post as well. Right? And you can also do that in your with your keywords and your tags and such. A/B testing. A/B testing is basically creating two different versions of something and seeing which one's more successful. So if I put out two similar videos at the same time, I can put different tags on each of the videos, and I can see which tags got more organic return, right? Which tags got the video to return better, which keywords got the videos to return better. I could create multiple ads, right? Like I could go in there and I could boost that post again, target it to an entirely different set of people, and see which one works better and gets me the best return on investment. And the same thing with writing. I can write things that are at two different levels, put them out there, and see which one gets the best response. And then the more I learn about what works in my A/B testing, the more I can take the results of them and parlay them into future posts. And one of the interesting things that people don't do a whole lot, and this is kind of an interesting niche here, is doing translated posts. Right? Because just because somebody speaks another language, it doesn't mean they don't have the same interest. It doesn't mean they don't have the same wants. They just speak another language. And I kind of see a lot of larger, a lot of semi-corporate YouTube channels, right? They will create a side channel that's another language dubbed channel. Right, like one of the best examples is Mythical, right? The corporation Mythical, Rhett and Link, Good Mythical Morning. You might be familiar with them. Rhett and Link are from North Carolina, moved to California, started this social media production company called Mythical. Incredibly huge YouTube following with their daily YouTube show, Good Mythical Morning. Well, they kind of realize that, hey, other people in other cultures can consume this media. They can like this media, but they might not speak our language. So there's a Spanish dub channel out there where they have Spanish speakers dub over their videos and put out the Spanish version of it. And that way they can capitalize on the people who have these other interests in other companies because their interests are more global. Right? So we're able to reach these subsets of a more global audience in that sort of way. So that's all that I have for you this week. Next week, maybe at the start of our class, we'll have a quick look at how that ad did over the course of the next 4 days, see what kind of return on investment we got out of it. We'll turn the music back on for just a couple minutes, just in case anybody here with me live has any questions. Thank you for watching. If you're watching the recording and you have questions, please feel free to email or Teams message. And we'll see you next time.